Good morning, good morning, good morning, 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 morning. Today is January 27, 2023. Good morning, good morning, good morning, morning. Good morning, morning, good morning, 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 everybody. Good morning, everybody. And we are live. We're live. We are live. Welcome to the program on this Friday. How you doing, everybody? Welcome, welcome. My name is Mark Escante, reporting today on not that. So it's been an interesting week, and on I think Wednesday we talked about the black alien. You know, black alien. People, humans trying to speak up and be heard and be seen and be feel like their lives mean something. You got the black alien guy who tattooed his whole body black. He cut off his nose, his eyes, his ears, chopped off a couple of fingers just to feel human, you know, to feel something. I was lacking in feeling. And yesterday we saw Brian Johnson, the 800 millionaire, who wasn't feeling it either. Even with 800 million, he wasn't feeling a damn thing. So he had to revamp his diet and his exercise program. And at some point, he felt well. But what do we do? The issue I want to talk about is torture. You hear the word all the time. What is torture? Oh yeah, there's you get thrown in a prison in a foreign country and they torture you. But the reality is that this country right here, the United States of America, is the leader in torture. Now you say, well, we don't beat anybody up. We don't beat anybody down, somewhat, sort of, unless they ask for it. We don't routinely say, okay, come out of your cell and now we're going to beat you and then put you back in your cell. We just leave you in there in the form of solitary confinement, which is extreme torture. We build these capsules in these prisons. We build prisons that then have soundproof concrete capsules inside of them. They're usually about 7 feet, a little larger than maybe a parking space. And that's where you spend the rest of your life in some cases. Now, solitary confinement in the sense of maybe, you know, a few days, 15 days, 30 days is torture in itself. Anything over 15 days is technically classified as torture on a world scale. That's what we say. Okay, if you can find somebody for more than 15 days, that qualifies as torture. But what about weeks, months? What about years of no contact? And I mean no contact, just concrete walls, a toilet, and no light, no outside light. You can't see nature. You can't see a tree. You haven't seen anything grow in years. You haven't really been able to communicate with other people in years. What happens to the psyche? What happens in these situations that we are creating? And we'll look at one case. I don't know why it's fascinating. I think there is value to solitariness if used correctly, but what are we creating in places like Florence, Supermax? That's the example we're going to look at. We have a prison here in the United States, in Colorado, Florence Supermax, that people spend years with 23-hour-a-day confinement. And then they're let out for an hour where they're hosed down by some, crazy, security guard that because I don't know. I understand that there's no showers in some of these rooms. So, or you get the privilege of going out into the equivalent of a dug-in pool, like an in-ground pool, and there, in that 20 feet of space, you get to exercise for a little while. You get a little extra space for an hour, which is technically all-out solitary confinement. Now, there's two sides of it. The one side is, well, these guys blew people up You know, for example, the Boston bomber, the kid that killed 3 people at the Boston Marathon. And should we feel sympathy for him? No, that's not what I'm getting at all. The people at the 9/11 conspirators, a lot of those guys are at Florence. You think of Guantanamo, where they're waterboarding people and such. But I think that or Julian Assange, who was threatened with the Florence Supermax jail, and even England said that would be too cruel and unusual for someone like Julian Assange. And that's what the United States planned to do, put Julian Assange at Florence. The point is there any crime that we know of? Is there a crime that a human can commit that justifies this type of torture? What are we trying to achieve by the torture? Are we trying to make it an obstacle for criminals to say, hey, if you do this, you're going to get that? Right? Is that the point of it? Is that why we torture? To intimidate criminals, you know, and say, well, screw the ones that we already have. We're going to torture them to death. And we're going to send out a message to the rest of the criminals that if you do this, you're going to get tortured too. All right? But we're not calling it torture. We're just calling it correctional facilities. Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Prisons calls it safety. This is keeping the people, the criminals, the prison people safe, and the correction officers that these guys will often kill, right, safe as well. Right? We're keeping everybody safe. This is not torture. This is the only way we know how to minimize the ability of this person that we're confining to killing somebody and harming somebody or harming themselves. Is that really the point of it? Is there some sort of correctional value to solitary confinement at all? Or is it just straight up torture? Why don't we call it? Why don't we just call it the Florence Supermax torture chamber? Why are we hiding the fact that it's torture? TJ says, I was in solitary confinement for 40 days and actually was a nice break from other inmates and staff. Supermax is usually the worst of us. Interesting, and thanks for sharing that. If that's really your experience, that's amazing. You know, I've been in silent retreats for 10 days where there's no speaking at all. But that's a little different. You know, you're moving around, you see other people, but you're just not engaging them, and something happens to the mind if you're prepared. And I would say this: if I were able right now, if Florence Supermax would offer this reporter 30 days in the hole, I would take it. I would say, okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. For 30 days, I will, and you know, other foul treatment excluded. If you want to, if I could be, if you're going to lock me up, this reporter, for 30 days as an experiment, I'll do it. I'll do it, and then report on, you know, what it's like at the end. The only caveat I would give them is that I have the ability to tap out at any time. In other words, if it's some other barbaric form of torture going on in there, you know, get me the hell out of here. Right? But the solitary itself, because what I believe, what I would come out of it with is a very serene experience, because I know that the 30 days are going to expire. I know what to do in those 30 days. Mindfulness, sit. No, you don't need external stimuli for as short as 30 days. There's people that have done it for a year, if you know what to do. But it would be an interesting study. So we're gonna look at this fascinating idea of torture in the modern age, because this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. We don't know what to do with you, so we're going to remove all the roots of humanity from you, and we're going to keep you in a concrete slab and see what happens. We don't know. Most of these people, most of these men, they're mostly men, never get out of prison anyway. They usually either die in prison or they never, you never hear from them again once they're in there. So we don't really know. We don't really know the consequences, societal consequences of doing this to people, because they never get out. So, if they never get out, why punish? Why torture them anyway? Just leave them somewhere. I don't know. It's an interesting subject. So we're gonna dive in. Thank you everybody for joining me today. Jim Gerard is here. Andy Garcia is here. Vinny DiMartini in the house. Weevil Girl's here as well. Weevil Girl's gonna bounce later on. Casa Philly Camden, what's up? Zoot Suit Cooter, my brother Andy Garcia, and everybody else who's lurking. Champs is in the house. How are you, man? How are you? So anyway, Marcus Conde reporting. Here's my thumbnail today. Just imagine, you know what it is? Look, you got to put aside, when you look at this, the horrific crimes that some of these people committed. We're not discounting that. We're not downplaying that, right? We're just saying, now that that has happened, what do we do as civilized, quote, civilized human beings? How do we handle that? How do we handle putting someone into a situation like this, or not doing it? So that's really what we're doing. So I got a website, Marcus Conte. When there's nothing else to talk about, we'll make something up, like Supermax jails. It's kind of a slow news cycle right now. It's not a whole lot going on. It does seem the weirdness of humanity is bubbling up. Have you noticed? Things are getting strange. Shit is getting strange. The fucking the black alien, the billionaire guy who has perfected his diet and exercise down to the molecular structure, and torture as we know it. Torture. We'll look at some of their crimes too. What were they being tortured for? Why are they being tortured? So I have a website, Marcus Conte. We're live every morning, 9 a.m., Monday through Friday. Right now we're on YouTube, and we love YouTube for having us back. And if they decide not to have us back, we'll head over to DLive, and you could watch the program. We're across all these social media platforms: Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Facebook, Twitter, Getter, Truth Social, and wherever else you find social media, we're probably there. I have a tip jar and a Patreon link if you want to contribute to the program. Other top stories appear here. And I got a new story circulating around, getting some good vibe out there. Networking it, sending it around. Maybe some of the big Buddhists will read it and print it on their websites. That's my great hope for the story. And you should read the story. It's interesting. It's a little story about enlightenment. And so you are here. Place yourself here. You are welcome. Welcome to Florence solitary confinement. This is your home for the rest of your life. And there it is. It's not so bad. Oh, look, he's got a book. He's got a pen, right? And some water. And he's got a concrete slab to sit on and sleep on, a mattress. I don't see any blanket. What do? Sit there and freeze your ass off? He's got some running water. It's not so bad. Not so bad. Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. You could survive, right? It's got a little window where you could see a brick wall on the other side. So where is this place? Where is we're talking about United States Penitentiary, Florence, Supermax, ADX Florence, right? So where is it? Where did they put this thing? Right? Where did they put it? Here's America, right? We're right in the middle somewhere. And it's it looks like it's about 90 miles south of Denver and Denver, Pablo. So let's zoom in and see if we can find anything. What else is around there? There's nothing. There's nothing. It's just a highway. Colorado 67 running right through. And nothing there. Nothing there. Just this isolated hellhole of isolation in the middle of Colorado with a lot of gun-slinging cops and bars and concrete and solitude, man. Solitude made American style. So let's talk about it. United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility, USP Florence ADMAX, commonly referred to as ADX Florence, or I don't know, to me it's commonly referred to as Florence Supermax, is an American federal prison in Fremont County near Florence, Colorado. It is operated by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, a division of the United States Department of Justice. It was built in 1994, is classed as a Supermax or control unit prison, thus providing a higher and more controlled level of custody than a maximum security prison. All right? So it sits on, let's see, 49 acres of land and houses different facilities with varying degrees of security. 49 acres. What are you complaining about, man? You only got 7 feet, but you're sitting on 49 acres. Look at the bright side. ADX Florence was commissioned when the Federal Bureau of Prisons needed a unit designed specifically for the secure housing of those prisoners most capable of extreme violence towards staff or other inmates. Oh, really? Or is it torture? As of August 2022, there are a total of 341 inmates housed. All are men. They're all men because men are worse than women. No woman should be subjected to this kind of manly treatment, I guess. But 341 inmates housed. There's like 2 cops to every inmate. They have like 1,000 staff. Crazy amount of staff to house 341 people that are confined in a little box and can't get out. Right, surrounded by barbed wire and gun shooting cops in towers, told to shoot first, ask questions later. There's no way out of this thing. El Capo is in there, the drug lord, Guzman El Capo, is in there, and he's already dug out of 2 prisons. 2 of them already. They dug a hole under his cell down in Mexico and got him out twice. And he got caught twice. I don't know how they re-caught him, but they re-caught him. They are confined 23 hours per day in single cells with facilities made of poured, reinforced concrete to deter self-harm, and are under 24-hour supervision, carried out intensely with high staff to inmate ratios. The Institute, history, 19... So why did they build this thing? Because in 1983, Thomas Silverstein and Clayton Fountain, a pair of Jews, it looks like, members of the Aryan Brotherhood. No, I take that back. You can't be named Silverstein and be an Aryan brother. Fatally stabbed correctional officers Merrill Clough and Robert Hoffman. So in 1983, 11 years before they built this place, these 2 wackos killed 2 security guards, 2 correction officers inside of the prison. And so that's why they built it. Federal Bureau's Director Norman Carlson argued for the creation of a new type of facility where the most dangerous, uncontrollable inmates could be isolated from correction officers and other prisoners for security and safety. All right. So the creation, according to the director of Federal Bureau of Prisons, is to isolate the prisoner for the safety of the correction officer and other prisoners. Not for, there is no correctional aspect to any of this other than correcting, you know, what, I don't know what you're correcting. I thought correctional facility means you're correcting the person's behavior. Right? Isn't there better ways to do that? Maybe have somebody confined to, you know, crocheting hats for elderly, or, you know, some kind of service that if he should ever get out, which isn't really the point, but even in confinement, he can generate some sort of sense of peace and joy in their life, right? We have to deprive people of that ability. I don't know, man. This is, yeah, again, you just have to put yourself in the position. What would you do? Let's go there for a second. What would you do if, I don't know, for example, one day you were driving down the road and maybe you drank something, right? Somebody, you know, you didn't know what you were drinking. You drank it. And all of a sudden, you wake up in prison, and somebody tells you you just killed 35 people with an assault rifle, screaming Ali Baba, Ali Akbar, right? And we're sending you over to Florence prison, right? The Supermax. And then the next day you wake up, and this is the rest of your life, right? You don't. Maybe you did it. Maybe you didn't do it. Who knows? But how would you handle it? Forget about what the person did. How would you handle something like this? Is it possible to live a life being totally excluded, totally cut off from all human stimuli, right? The human life, right? It's like growing a plant in the dark. It's not going to grow. It's just going to be like, it's going to wilt and die, right? How would you handle it? That's what you got to ask yourself when we read this. Forget about if it's just, if it's right. How would you handle it? What would you do in this situation? Would you opt out and kill yourself? As a lot of people do. Lots and lots of suicides. So they invented this thing, permanent lockdown for the next, when the killing happened at Marion prison, they did 2 decades of lockdowns, making the whole prison solitary confinement. So in 1995, they built this other one. Inmate population, 331 male inmates. It has a 490 inmate capacity. What else can we learn? Majority, let's watch, we've got a video. Let's watch a video. Let's watch the video, man.
Will transfer away from this veritable hellhole for the most fortunate. Life in a cell at the Florence Supermax. Inmates here suffer through 23 hours of single-cell confinement under 24-hour supervision, with only 1 hour a day to exercise or socialize. Picture sitting locked up in a tiny 7 by 12-foot room all day by yourself.
Yep.
That's basically a day in the life of a Supermax inmate. The prison cells are designed as soundproof rooms with a single 4-inch slit for a window, their only access to the outside world. Each cell features a desk, stool, and bed, constructed almost entirely out of poured concrete. The rooms are deliberately designed to stifle inmates' freedoms and to stop them from potentially becoming a danger to themselves or others. The toilets are designed to shut off if an inmate decides to clog it, and the showers run on a scheduled timer. The sinks are also designed without taps, just in case someone tries to fashion it into a weapon or to use.
So you get the point, right? You get the point. This is you, man. Kenneth Burns says, we are social animals. Isolation decreases your ability to function normally. Hell yeah. As far as I'm concerned, that's their problem. Simple. Don't commit crime, says Utsid Cooter. I hear you. I'm listening.
Use it to commit self-harm. Entertainment in these cells is, unsurprisingly, very little. If you aren't staring at a light bulb all
this guy's trying to crawl out the hole, man. He's like, fuck that shit, man. I'm getting out of here. I don't care. I'll fit out. I'll fit through this little hole, man. Is this all you get to give me? I'm getting out.
You might be lucky enough to have a radio, or in very rare cases, you might be one of those good behavior inmates that have the privileges of a TV in their cell.
Most of them do not have TV and radio. That's actually an illusion. Not that I could see. Most of them, they go years without TV or radio.
Even the 4-inch by 4-foot windows can't provide much in the way of entertainment. They are deliberately designed to prevent inmates from knowing their specific location within the complex. All they can see is the sky and the rooftops through them, making it...
So that's it. That's all you get. You get a little sky. You get a little sky. No trees, no plants, no wind, no smelling the air, no sunshine on your body. No walk outside in the grass, no sitting down, you know, nothing. No butterflies, no birds, no bees. Right. It also makes you wonder if you were to experience something like this for a few days, when you come out, maybe it is a good thing. Maybe you would realize that the life is full of all of this beauty that we fail to see. We're always looking for something more, but the most beautiful things are right in front of us. Sunshine, you know, just being alive, the idea of having a body and all that stuff.
It's virtually impossible to plan an escape. Basically, life inside this prison can be described in one word: isolating. Inmates barely get to see outside of their cells. Food is hand-delivered to each of the... Life inside this prison can be described...
That was interesting. They covered his head. Well, this is how you get out of your cell. You're cuffed through the bars. You can't move your arms. This is every day. This is how you're treated. This is not torture. That's not torture right there. All right, you're getting out for 1 hour today, and this is how you get out with 3 cops cuffing you, and it's torture.
Described in one word: isolating. Inmates barely get to see outside of their cells. Food is hand-delivered to each of the prisoners' cells to prevent the need for a mess hall. Reports from a guided tour of the prison described an astonishing and eerie quiet within its walls.
An astonishing and eerie quiet. That's an interesting observation. It's deafeningly quiet.
60 Minutes producer Henry Schuster once stated, "A few minutes inside that cell and 2 hours inside Supermax was enough to remind me why I left high school a year early. The walls close in very fast."
So the reporter couldn't last 2 hours in there. All right. Well, I make the challenge, if it's even possible. I will commit to 30 days at Florence Supermax, and I will report on what it feels like. Right? I need, of course, guaranteed safety, that I'm not going to be thrown into a population of criminals. But to experience the cell, the solitariness, to see if it's possible to survive with the option of being able to tap out at any moment, it would be a fascinating study if anybody has ever done that.
Inmates' daily nutrition is also controlled, way more than you might expect in a typical prison. They're given specific meals to ensure they don't use the food to hurt themselves or cause unsanitary conditions in their cell. Escape-proof.
You curious to see how I got paid $2,317.16 this month without lifting
I don't care.
a finger?
The Florence Supermax
I love commercials.
Has a reputation for being escape-proof. No one, since its creation, has managed to escape the facility. Besides what you might have already gleaned from my description of the facility and the cells, the prison has a bevy of security measures to keep prisoners inside, like multiple motion detectors, cameras, and 1,400 remote-controlled steel doors. The cells also have electric lights that can only be turned off or on remotely, making 24-hour surveillance very easy. If prisoners try anything funny, guards have the ability to trigger a panic button, which seals all doors in the institution, making an already
The bottom line is, you're not getting out of here, right? Okay, if we're talking about a jail where there's circulation of people, that's one thing. But what we're doing is we're talking about the 23-hour isolation component of what's going on. That's what I'm interested in.
Difficult escape, near impossible. It's not as if making it to the outer perimeters means you're home free either. There are pressure pads and 12-feet razor-wired walls that encircle the perimeter, which is monitored by heavily armed guards, who are trained to shoot first and ask questions later. It's not all doom and gloom. For some lucky inmates, all they have to do is just wait it out. Florence Supermax was never really designed to hold inmates for a very long time. The long-term goal of Florence was originally to keep most inmates for about 3 years and then to transfer them to less restrictive prison.
Right, but that's not true. The initial idea was for 3 years, but there's guys that have been in there, like the bombers, the 9/11 bombers. They've been in there since 2003 or 2000 whatever. They've been in there a long time, right? Years, 17 years of this. Right.
To serve the
Did they deserve it? I don't know.
remainder of their sentences. Only 5% of inmates reportedly serve their entire time at the Supermax, while the remaining 95% get transferred at some point. Famous inmates at the Supermax.
Okay, so that's a little bit of a video. Let's look at some of the reported, and we'll look at the actual criminals, the guys that actually. Oh, we could do that now. Let's look at the criminals. Inmate population. So this is good. Now you can justify it and say, oh, look at these animals. Look, oh yeah, they got that animal in there too. And which animals are they keeping in the prison? So foreign terrorists. This is Zacharias Mosaya. Right? He's the Al Qaeda operative. 2005, playing a key role in planning the 9/11 attacks. All right, he's still alive. He didn't go down in the plane. All right, who else is in there? We got the Ramzi Yousaf, 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center. Still there since 1996. It's in there forever, right? All Al Qaeda. These are all foreign Al Qaeda. This guy's from Tanzania. This is a Egyptian clergy, Al Qaeda, Richard Reed. What else? So there's a lot of foreigners. This is where we keep our foreign trash, right? We catch you and we put you in there, right? Guzman is in there. Guy in Canada. Who else? Let's keep going. So here's some of the domestic terrorists. Do you remember this guy, Zokhar Tsizranov? I forgot how to pronounce his name. But this is the Boston Marathon bomber, 2013, sentenced to death, and then his death sentence was commuted in 2020, sentenced to life in prison, and then resentenced to death by the Supreme Court. So remember this kid, right? If you want to hate on somebody, hate on this guy. This kid and his brother blew up fucking people at the finish line of a athletic event, the Boston Marathon. Right? Set off a bomb. Psychopath. He's sitting in there for the rest of his life. Are we correcting him? Or we should just kill him, right? Does it have a detrimental effect on society? Right? Is doing this kind of thing ethical? Right? In a sense, right? Like you know how horrible the people are. But my question to you is, do we solve the problem of horrible people by being horrible ourselves? That's what I'm trying to get at. Right? Or, I mean, look, if you have a bad person in your life, for example, if you have a bad person, you know, antagonistic, egotistical, fucking, you know, annoying person, right? Possibly even aggressive, violent, lurking around in your life, what's the best way to address that? You ignore them. Right? They're schizophrenic and sociopathic. If you ignore them, they generally wilt and go away. But once you engage that person, once you start to, you know, try to solve their problem, the problem gets worse. Right? So, although these characters that are locked up into these prisons will probably never get out, but what if they did? What if they did? What if suddenly you have 350, you know, guys that were subjected to this incredible solitude? They don't know how to survive in society anymore. They don't even know where they're going. They don't know which way is up or down. So here's some of the documented evidence that this is torture. So according to over time, the stress of being isolated can cause a range of mental health problems. According to Dr. Sharon Shaliv, who authored a book about the subject in 2008. Anxiety and stress, depression and hopelessness, anger, irritability and hostility, panic attacks, worsened pre-existing mental health issues, hypersensitivity to sounds and smells, problem with attention, concentration, memory, hallucinations, paranoia, poor impulse control, social withdrawal, outbursts of violence, psychoses, fear of death, harm, or suicide. So that's just a short list. Physical health effects, chronic headaches, eyesight deterioration, digestive problems, dizziness. You break down, man. You break down. Could you survive this if you were, could a monk, could a Buddhist monk, like a real one, you know, these guys that meditate all the time, could you put him in this situation and could he survive? Could someone achieve enlightenment in this position where they totally, you know, could the Buddha survive this? Ask yourself, could the Buddha or Jesus survive such a situation? Loss of appetite, muscle and joint pain, sleep problems. Like if you're isolated in a cell for 23 hours, you don't know if it's day or night. Some of them are reported of not knowing where the ground is, where they step and they're afraid to walk because you lose a sense of the ground under you, right? And you're prone to falling and slipping and killing, you know, and getting, you know, even in a worse situation. So in 2016, the U.S. National Commission of Correctional Health decried solitary confinement exceeding beyond 15 days as cruel, inhumane, and harmful. So it's confirmed. The America is we engage in torture, right? No doubt about it, right? Fractures from falls, all of these scientific explorations of people that have been subjected to this, people that are studying it, all confirm that it is a high form of torture. Rage, tears, hopelessness. So don't feel sorry for them, right? Most recent studies also identify a wide range of adverse psychological reactions that frequently occur in solitary confinement. Decreased appetite, trembling hands, sweaty palms, heart palpitations, a sense of impeding emotional breakdown, sleep disturbances, nightmares, heightened levels of anxiety and panic, irritability, aggression, rage, paranoia, violent fantasies, cognitive dysfunction, hypersensitivity to stimulus, mood swings, lethargy. It's the whole thing. It's the whole gamut of social breakdown. This is how we handle our criminals. This is how as a society we handle the bad guys. Right? We torture them. We torture them to the point of breaking so that we feel safe. So that the guy getting paid $80,000 a year, the correction officer, so he's safe too. If you want to work in a correctional facility, you better grow some testicles because you're dealing with, you know, criminals. You're dealing with rough people. So what else? What else can we learn about this? So there you go, man. So let's look at the markets. Let's try to cheer it up. I didn't mean to be so down on a Friday. So all right, markets are not so bad. The futures were very red a little while ago, and they're already calling it a head fake. The slight rebound on the stock markets. S&P 500 down only 4. Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 22. Nasdaq down only 4 as well. So it looks like the Nasdaq's going to go green in another tick. What time is it? 9:43. Yeah, it's going to tick. It looks like it's going to tick green, maybe tick red. I don't know. It's red right now. Apple up 13 cents. Amazon up $1. Google up 90 cents. Technology leading the charge here. Why is the index down? Something is dragging technology down right now. Rivian up another 22 cents today. Tesla, the amazing Tesla, up another $3.41. It was all the way down. Now it's going all the way up. Rivian, as I said, RIVN. It's a accumulate around here. Keep accumulating as it goes up. It seems. And that's really all I want to say about the market. So happy Friday to everybody. Thanks for joining me on this, rather unusual subject of solitary confinement. We're always trying to improve society, right? What about the solitude of the pandemic? Everybody working remote. Is that a form of solitary confinement? I don't know. Not to the extreme that we're seeing at these Supermaxes. So anyway, so I'm going to kill it here. I'm going to kill it. Get out there and enjoy my day. Thank you everybody for joining me. Well, let's do a survey. What do we think? Let's do a little chat while we're here. Let's go. One is Supermax is okay by me. All right, or two, we should do away with it. We should do away with it. Or better said, we should find another way. All right? Number one, it's okay by me. Two, we should do away with it. I don't know. After this report, yeah, Vinny's a two. I gotta go two as well. I think we need to find a better way to deal with this. I don't know. It's just, if you want barbarianism in society to go away, stop treating people in a barbaric way. Right? So I think we're all so far all in agreement. Any ones out there? So we're all twos. Kenneth Byrne, two. We're all twos, man. Nobody wants to see this shit, man. But this is what's going on. This is where you are in your society. Crazy Duck says one. Okay by me. There you go. Jim Gerard's a two. What's up, Jim? What's up, Jim? My brother. Me So Hungry likes working from home with her dog. Yeah, me too, man. I love it. I love it. Working with Batman. I just miss Batman. I miss you, Batman. Batman's passed away almost a month ago now. 2 months ago. I love you, Batman. Black Cat Friday. Black Cat Friday. This is for you, Batman. We love you, Batman. We love you, Batman. Jim Gerard, no spaceship today. No spaceship. I'm gonna pass on that. I'm gonna we'll do it another time. Got to come up with new subjects, new subject matter. And cool, man. So thank you everybody for joining me. Have a great day. Really enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself.